PLRB presents insightful presentations, each just 15 minutes.
Our next presentation will be the intersection of digital and personal transformation, and it will be presented by Neel Sus of SusCo Solutions. Neel Sus serves as the CEO and CPO, Chief People Development Officer, of SusCo, a business and software development firm birthed in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina in 2006. SusCo builds systems to unleash human potential. They develop claims management systems and robust integrations for insurance services companies nationwide. Neel's passionate about integrating personal and professional development for all his teammates for SusCo, and he contributes to charities that help disadvantaged individuals achieve the American dream by upskilling them. Join me in welcoming Neel Sus to the stage.
So, know what you guys must be thinking. One, why is this presentation so early? Two, Neel, is that a suit and pajamas? And three, what does digital and personal transformation have to do with each other? See this slide? So, there's a central thesis I want to share with you guys. One is we all know digital transformation projects are difficult, right? For many reasons. But the central thesis I have is that most of them fail not because of hard skill gaps, but actually soft skill gaps, whether it's people and mind skills. That's why the theme of this is personal transformation. So we're familiar with common reasons that digital transformation software projects fail. The developers don't know how to write really high quality code. They don't understand the complexity of the project. They don't build the solution to scale. They're not using enough measurement, and they haven't thought about security, right? Now, it turns out, I did a lot of research here, and roughly 30% of project failures come from these technical causes, while 70% come from these causes, which is poor planning and execution, a lack of purpose and clear goals, a lack of agility, not getting stakeholder buy-in, and resistance to change. So while I wasn't particularly surprised when I found these stats today, I learned this the hard way. So I want to take you back to 2016. I'm in India at my wife's parents' house. I'm about to go up the stairs for my 10th cigarette of the day. It was about noon, and my knees started hurting. So I stopped in the stairwell. I just turned 39, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm 39 years old, and my house is not in order. Working 70 hours a week. I'm smoking a pack and a half a day, clearly comfort eating. I'm not getting the results I want from work. Not getting the results I want from my marriage, not enough time at home. And I'm like, I'm about to turn 40. I gotta get my house in order. And I knew that it couldn't just be, okay, let me knock out some habits, let me do diet changes, etc. I knew I had to really dig deep and learn. So I embarked on this journey where I cut my Netflix time from 8 hours a week to 1. I got coaching, life coaching from mentors. I read everything, like religious books, spiritual books, autobiographies, psychology books, like you name it, I read it. I'm part of a business peer learning group called Entrepreneurs Organization. I started using that group mainly for personal experience sharing and not business. And the result was good, I would say. So basically, between 2016 and 2019, I was able to turn the business around. Business has been doubling and tripling since then. Employee stat went from 6.2 to 8.8. I work, I enjoy working, so I work a 40 to 50 hour a week now. My wife's satisfaction, and yes, I did survey her, went from a 4.0 to an 8.0 and now a 9, and I'm at a healthy weight. What was interesting about this was after I went through this process or during the process, I found myself coaching my employees when they had issues based on the concepts I learned on how to deal with conflict, how to deal with customers. And so we've actually implemented that in the way we train my direct leaders and all the leaders within the company. So now I want to talk a little bit about some examples of how this manifests. So legacy system conversion, right? These are hairy projects, but they're also heavy investments. So clients typically want to say, hey, look, I'm already spending $500,000, whatever it is. Can we also add more features to the system? Can we also change the way this works? Can we add new modules? And typically we would say, yeah, sure, it makes sense. And for years, we'd have project success, but no matter how much we worked on it in the beginning, we'd always overrun our estimates and would always be late. And so this kind of brings me to the concept of this, which is, so it was December 31st, 2012. I remember it was New Year's Eve, obviously, and I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do for New Year's? I'm gonna go on a diet. I'm gonna start meditating. I'm gonna quit smoking. I'm gonna work out in the morning, and I'm gonna start reading in the morning. Right? I'm super pumped. So January 1st, or maybe the 2nd, I did all those things. By January 15th, I dropped half those habits, and by February 15th, I was actually worse off than I was December 31st. Right? And the reason for this is twofold. One, willpower depletion, right? Which is when you try to adopt one good habit, it's hard. If you try to adopt two, it's extremely difficult because you only have so much willpower to change. And secondly, often two good things do not make sense to implement at once. Very simple example. It may be good to start working out every day. It may be good to cut your caloric consumption by 500 calories a day, depending on where you are. However, generally does not make sense to adopt both habits at the same time. It makes sense to adopt the workout habit or the other one, go 30 to 60 days, and then adapt. And we applied this to legacy conversion successfully. And while it's painful to explain, we've been very successful by saying, hey, look, yes, we're going to get you in a new tech out of your old tech. Yes, we're going to make your database vastly superior, normalize it. But when we migrate you, we're not going to add new modules from go. We're going to launch something that may feel very similar, but then the minute it's launched and successful, we can then iterate and add whole new features. And oddly enough, this actually takes less time, less money, and you get much better user adoption. So the second idea here is, on projects, often they fail because project managers or other leaders on the project don't do a good job of sharing risks and issues and concerns early enough in the project, right? Whether it's intentional or not, they're kind of procrastinating on having those difficult conversations. I myself had this problem. And even though I tried to fix it, it was just a habit I couldn't get out of until I discovered why. So I'll take you back. No, that cute kid is not me. But so I'll take you back to when I was 8 years old. I just moved to North Carolina. I was going to McDonald's for my birthday, which for those 80s kids knows that was actually a very common thing. They had like playgrounds. I was super pumped, and I expected to see like 20 kids there. I saw 2, right? Very disheartening. And I didn't realize this at the time, but that event kind of installed this limiting belief that I wasn't very likable. And a limiting belief is basically, well, it's what it sounds like. It's a belief you hold about yourself or about the world that kind of impacts the way you treat yourself or treat others, right? And so because I had this limiting belief I wasn't very likable, I have a bad habit of being a people pleaser, right? And one way to please people is to avoid having difficult conversations, including, hey, there's a project risk you should know about. And so once I discovered this limiting belief and worked on it and replaced it, I was able to kind of transmute this trait of pleasing people into collaboration, healthy conflict, and an abundance mentality. So for example, when you have project difficulties, being able to say, hey, there's a win-win-win here. We just go through all of our needs and knock it out. And I've also helped other leaders with this problem internally. Third example is around user adoption. So it's very common in these projects to have challenges with users being really helpful with giving requirements in the front end, right? And so you struggle with that, and then secondly, it's very common to not have adoption issues. And the root here, it goes back to this concept of needs, right? So there are a lot of models of human needs. A very simple one that Tony Robbins uses is we all need safety/certainty, variety, significance, and connection, right? And it's all too common in digital transformation projects to have a lot of clarity with the project sponsor, right? But not really necessarily letting the whole user base know what's going on. So they feel uncertain about, is the software going to work like it used to? Is it going to be harder? Is it going to be easier? Or there's a risk of a loss of significance because often it's like, well, what is my role going to be now once the new software is out? What is my role going to be like? Is it going to be eliminated, or is it going to be better? And so what we've found is it's very important early on to create that clarity with the users. Making sure they're clear on not only the project's purpose for the business, but also how it benefits them, and creating clarity on how the role would change after the software is rolled out. So finally, the last example here, this is rearranging the deck chairs on that Titanic. We had an instance a couple of years ago where we had a really big data warehouse project. And it was really important for the business owners, the project owners, to have it rolled out for hurricane season, for those stakeholders. But there were a lot of technical stakeholders, and they were very concerned about making sure the solution would scale for the next 10 years, right? Now, and so this actually caused a lot of delays in the project, and we actually had to bring these parties together to make sure that they're aware that they had conflicting requirements, and make it so that the technologists were okay with iterating and doing a simpler version that's out for hurricane season and a more complicated version, 10-year model. And I think this goes back to purpose, right? So if you look at 1998, 2003, 2011, I've actually adopted good habits for health 3 times before in my life in these times. But within a year, it didn't stick. Now, why is that? So in 1998, the purpose was to be, better with ladies in college. With 2003, it was to look the part of for my wedding. And 2011, to look the part of the award-winning entrepreneur. But these are all kind of ego-based and not really permanent goals. While, since 2017, my wife's a doctor. She likes to joke that my bad habits are officially in remission because it's been 5 years. That's that one. And so, and that's because I have a purpose that's bigger than me, right? So my purpose right now when it comes to my health is to be a role model for my children, and it's an evergreen purpose, and I have a vision, which is actually more specific. So I literally had a vision I cast a while ago, which is like, I'm at my daughter's wedding, I'm walking her down the aisle, I give her a great speech, she's happy, we dance, etc. And I also had an anti-vision, which is 10, 20 years from now. Someone else is walking my daughter down the aisle because my wife had to remarry some schmuck because I had passed away of bad habits, right? And so having that vision and purpose and clarity is super important, because when you apply that to software projects, same idea. So if all the stakeholders know why you're doing the project holistically and also specifically what the outcomes are, you just get better outcomes. So let's see. And again, I feel like it works. Applying this internally has helped SusCo greatly. We're 4.9 out of 5 at a Glassdoor, which is not easy to do. And Clutch is a vendor, vendor platform. We rate very highly, and we're very fast at growing because of this model, I think. What are next steps? So what I'd recommend, if anyone's interested, is personally just learning about some of these concepts, whether it's habits, limiting beliefs, vision, purpose, values, and human needs. And then separately from that, what we did and what we recommend is picking a partner. So we partnered with a company called AO People Partners, and they helped us implement this thing called the Leadership Circle Profile at work, where all these leaders get these 360s, and they figure out like their reactive habits and creative habits and where they're spending time. For example, I'm a people pleaser, that's a reactive habit, and trying to move into collaborative, et cetera. So that's helped out a lot. And I'll close with the fact that if you apply this at work, what happens is you'll start to transform people around you, your family. Again, it'll transform the work environment you live in. And lastly, and I feel very strongly about this, I think that leadership development at work for all employees is what's going to help rekindle the American dream, because I think we need to help people as business owners and operators level up in their lives. So thank you very much.